Yo, what's up, guys? Waiting on Brady to get in here. I don't know what happened to him. We were just talking to him, so let me hit him up real quick. But it is Richmond, guys.
Hello.
Back at another. Hey, there you are.
I did a whole intro there, and I didn't realize I was vibing.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I must have unplugged my mic. Sorry about that. What's up? Yeah, Richmond. Very exciting race. Very interesting race. I was doing my notes last night, and we were talking a little bit before the show. I'm not saying your name. You're not catching me, brother. But what's up? It's almost hard to pick a dominator here because there's such a plethora of like obvious PD plays and almost no obvious dominators. Like it ends up being a pretty interesting slate, I think.
It almost makes you want to just say, "Fuck it, we're playing Priest." And then just someone else will wander up there. But
yeah,
it is very tempting. This place differential.
Yeah, and practice. I mean, we were kind of talking before the show. There's a million different reasons why this guy or that guy that stuck out in practice isn't necessarily going to be a good play. There's tire concerns among the garage, which we'll get into here shortly. But and then to top it all off, this race has been a beacon of chaos the last couple years. So who knows what could happen at the end of this race? Austin Dillon should be around, so it could be carnage.
Yeah. Well, typically a low carnage track. It's just that the ending of last year's race was crazy. We actually end up finishing a lot of laps here. Really, people just get lapped more than anything. I think it's at 19.5 for the lead lap prop.
Yeah. So, I've got my hold on. I'm sharing my my tab and not my. Here, you guys can get a picture of Pocono for a second while I share my window. No. Yeah, window. Bang. Here we go. There we go. And we can go into... Actually, let's start here because we were talking about track correlation right before we hopped on. Do you have the correlation? Yeah. So Richmond's a very unique track in the fact that it's 3/4 mile, the only 3/4 mile track on the circuit, I believe. Shares a lot of characteristics with Iowa, which we were at a couple weeks ago in terms of shape, but in terms of banking and length and even track surface, doesn't correlate super highly. Surprisingly enough, Kansas, super correlated. New Hampshire, which we haven't been to yet this season, super correlated. Phoenix, very highly correlated, and Darlington, both tracks that we went to earlier in the year. So
a lot of tire management tracks there.
Yeah, a lot of tire management and a lot of tracks that we can't necessarily pull super helpful data from because they were so early in the year, and brand new tire too, or not brand new tire, but a tire we've used not that frequently this year.
Yeah, we've just used this tire at Martinsville, which we can look at, but the other two races we've used it at Bowman Gray, North Wilkesboro, exhibition races. So you could look into that if you want. But I mean, using exhibition races for data is kind of
yeah, it's hard. And like you were saying earlier, especially when the fields are so small, and like Bowman Gray, are you going to use a race at Bowman Gray to make any decisions about a playoff points paying race? But yeah, new set of tires. First time we've used them in a points paying race since Martinsville. They'll have 8 new sets for the race, which if you've been around the NASCAR Reddit, Brad Kozlowski has some concerns about. I think it'll probably be okay once the sun goes down. This track is going to change a ton. It's going to get rubbered in very quickly because the first run they'll do is going to be under the sun. It'll be similar conditions to practice. And then the sun will go down, the track will get rubbered in, the track will speed up. And I think tire wear will go down. So it'll still be a tire management race for sure, but I don't think it'll be as chaotic and as necessary as certainly not enough to see the Richmond of old. And I think it'll still be pretty hard to pass the leader once we get kind of towards the end of the second stage. It'll probably be kind of follow the leader in a lot of ways. What else sticks out here about the tires? Not a whole lot. Yeah, like use them at Bowman Gray, Martinsville, and in North Wilkes-Barre.
I will say regarding Richmond, if you were to ask me which track of all tracks is best for the chalk, I've always said Richmond. And what happened yesterday in the truck race? The 3 highest owned drivers, the 3 highest fantasy scores, all optimal together. So it's a little bit of a boring week in that regard. I mean, fading the chalk is always a good move. Here it's just going to be a little bit less because it's a pretty predictive track overall. And there's not a ton of carnage, usually. At least not a lot of like race-ending carnage.
We were talking earlier, it was very interesting last night in the truck race how predictive practice ended up being. And we probably won't see that level of predictability in this race tonight, but it goes to your point, like good drivers and good teams win at Richmond. It's very rare you see kind of a surprise. I mean, last year, Austin Dillon had to wreck 2 traditional winners to get a win, and that's probably the most chaotic of a winner we've seen in Richmond in some time.
Yeah, it's. I was about to say, outside of Austin Dillon, you're usually not surprised about who's running up front.
Yeah, before we hop into, we'll go through kind of some lineup construction things, but I think it's worthwhile to point out the standings situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Next week is the last race, which is Daytona.
Yep.
So this is really the last race you can go into with the hope of getting any sort of points. And it's a 2-horse race, and even it's almost a no-horse race at this point, unless we get a new winner this week or next week. Tyler Reddick well in. I think Tyler Reddick's even locked in. I don't think he can fall out. Alex Bowman just needs 2 really pedestrian runs to make his way into the playoffs. Not a whole lot of concern there. It gets a little stranger when you get down to Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece. Buescher probably is best to run for points here, I would say. I would say he would sacrifice. He'll do whatever he can to get a good run, even if it comes at the cost of a win, I would guess. Mm-hmm. Ryan Preece, on the other hand, starting first, this will be all-in win for him. This will be boom or bust. We're going to finish first, or we're going to finish last. And we'll talk more about Ryan Preece. But other than that, it's from Kyle Busch down. I think it's safe to say these guys are all in winner go home mode.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just looking at next week, just salivating, getting ready to take freaking BJ McLeod first overall in snake drafts before the qualifying. Like it's so guaranteed, the carnage. The Daytona night race is always a sight to behold. Making a playoff cutoff race is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that race is crazy to begin with, and probably be stricken by weather and all sorts of other things. So it'll be a very fun weekend. Let's hop over to the research station, and Geek's not here, so I have to do the selling. If you want access to all these tools that we'll use, the research station, the domination station, the cheat sheets, head on over to dfsarmy.com/NASCAR/pricing. Link is all in the bio. You get access to all of this stuff for every single truck, Xfinity, Cup race, all for the rest of the year. And we've been doing this for 10 years now. This is the most essential piece of my handicapping process when it comes, whether you're betting, sports betting, you're doing fantasy. This collection of information, if Taco stops putting this out, my life will be ruined. Literally, Taco holds my life in his hands, because this is the most financially relevant piece of information I intake every week. It's worth its weight in gold. And then you pile on notes. Me and Taco write out notes for every single driver in the field for every single race. Nilly does too. And then the domination station, of course, where you can go in and import your own lineups. Let's see, your own projections, ownership projections, fantasy point projections, and build as many lineups as you want, up to 600 lineups in a single run. Well worth its weight in gold. Like I said, link in the bio, dfsarmy.com/pricing. I'm sure there's a coupon code that exists somewhere. Code TACO, does that work?
Yeah, hell yeah, that works.
Yeah, code TACO still works.
10% off.
But like I said, this is really worth its weight in gold, and you'll see that as we go through this stuff. Tons of very valuable information. Okay, we've paid the bills. Now let's take a look at Geek's favorite tab, the averages by starting position. And Taco, this is kind of your baby. Do you want to kind of take us through here and see what stands out?
You know what stands out to me as someone who's just been looking at this same chart for years and years with the next gen car. I feel like before the top 10 starting positions were a lot higher value than they are now. So this is only using the next gen races. We've been here 6 times in the next gen. I feel like it used to be like an average 50 fantasy points to the very front, and then 40, and then 35.
Yeah, it's very much
spread now. It's a little bit more spread out. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. And that makes, kind of figuring out or targeting a certain qualifying range very difficult now. But I think one thing that remains true that is consistent at Richmond is a dominator is going to come from the top 3 and usually the pole sitter. But for the most part, 33% of the time in next gen races, the pole sitter has hit the optimal.
Is it 90? Yeah.
So it's an average of 80 laps led, 30 fast laps, which is safe to say when you've got a pole sitter that's priced as low as Priest, that's going to be a very popular piece of the puzzle in this slate.
Yeah, and second place tends to not do as well. We kind of see that often at these short flat tracks, starting on the outside. Sometimes you'd almost rather start third. Kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Anything else jumping off the page here? 13th for some reason turns out to be a very valuable starting spot, though probably not enough starts to make that valuable information.
I would say you can see on the chart from 33rd on back, really bad. That's because we have Stenhouse starting 36th this week, right? He started 36th a lot recently at other track types, and he makes out for really great place differential play, what have you. A play like that is going to be really scary at a track like this, where historically even half decent drivers starting deep in the 30s are just at risk to get lapped early, because less than half of the drivers in this field are going to finish on the lead lap. If you get stuck 2 laps down, really fucks your upside.
Yeah, and good chance this first stage is going to run green, and it's not uncommon for up to 25th or 24th, especially if Priest or whoever is pushing a pretty good pace. You'll see 15 cars or more go a lap down. So that can really ruin your day at a place like Richmond, because it's very difficult to get your laps back.
Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see. I think this is the number 1 track for top 10 starting positions. I think Martinsville's the second. It just makes sense. So this is about as Martinsville-like of a race as you can get, where you just want to play a bunch of the guys starting up front. And so, of course, we're faced with the dilemma of there being a lot of really good deep place differential plays that are expensive this week.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another thing worth pointing out here, this kind of 17 to 24 range, good chance you'll see somebody in the optimal come out of that range. You often see, whether it's because of qualifying, order, or, they're just not set up for qualifying. There's a lot of decent cars that end up kind of in this 15th to 25th range. You've got Ty Gibbs, Carson Hocevar, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney. When we go through the list, we'll get into these guys, but it's not necessarily, I feel like this is all to say, my instinct is always find a dominator or 2 and then just fill it up with place differential. And with as many place differential plays as there is on this slate, that's going to be really, really tempting, but I wouldn't do so at the expense of, guys starting 14th to 24th. because you see it in the data so often. You've got guys coming out of this range that end up, leading or dominating races. Yeah, let's go back to historical. I know this is a interesting thing that you guys like to look at. So last year's fall race, the 23rd race of the season, pole sitter hit the optimal, and then Christopher Bell in the top 5. So those would be your 2 studs. Those would be your 2 high salary. A couple borderline place differential plays in Suarez and Ross Chastain. Chastain was probably a very popular play in that scenario. Suarez less so. Austin Dillon was probably the difference maker here. He turned out to be a bit of a surprise and even led a lot of that race towards the end. And then Carson Hocevar starting 19th, another guy who probably wasn't a popular play in this scenario. Started 19th. Yeah. But, in this race, no guys in the optimal outside of the top 22. And the instinct for this race, where there's so much place differential, is going to be to play like 3 or 4 guys outside of the top 25.
You want place differential that's going to stay on the lead lap. That's a huge if. Like, that's a big qualifier there.
Yeah.
I don't think you see guys starting like in the deep 30s making the optimal as often. Now, granted, we haven't had this many like really good drivers start in the back, and you saw like right there, that race you're looking at here, Christopher Bell started in the back, but wasn't optimal. He was too expensive. You absolutely had to take Truex and Larson together. If you didn't have them, you were fucked.
Yeah, because those guys, 2 dominators that were probably the 2 highest priced in the slate, or Truex might have been a 4th or 5th at that point in his career. Joey Logano, who started 10th and finished 2nd. Josh Berry, obviously smash play. He was probably priced around 6,000 at this time. Mm-hmm. And then Ty Dillon started 33rd, finished 29th, ended up in the optimal.
Yeah, sometimes with these, you see it right there. They have these unique situations where these specific dominators that you needed, and they're priced at $11K just because they do that when they're 400 plus laps in a race. If you need to have them together, sometimes the last option is just Ty Dillon was probably like what, 4,900, 5,000. I mean, 33rd to 29, that barely scores anything, but it's just what you needed to make it work.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we go back one race further than that, which I think, I was looking at this earlier, this 2023 fall race, in terms of place differential, is probably the most similar to this slate, where you had 3 real obvious PD plays. This was a very chalky slate. Buescher was a very popular play. Logano, Almirola less so, but people were starting to key into the fact that Almirola was very dominant at short tracks and flat tracks at this point. So he ended up being a pretty popular play. Keselowski starting 13th was even a PD play at that point. Sorry, go ahead, Taco.
No, and then again, Bell, that's 2 races in a row. He starts 29th at a short flat track, not optimal.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Denny Hamlin wasn't the pole sitter, but started 3rd and dominated a lot of this race. And then Bubba Wallace just started finished 5th, hit the optimal, while your pole sitter, Tyler Reddick, led 81 laps, probably led the entire first stage of this race, still not good enough to hit the optimal. So
4 guys leading 80 or more laps. That is interesting.
Yeah. I guess the point is there's a bunch of different ways this race can play out. And it's very easy to fall in love with place differential. And you'll see that once we start to go through these one by one. But in the 3 races we just looked at, what was there? 3 out of 18 that were like obvious, super obvious place differential plays. It's a very top heavy race for the most part. So don't feel like you need to fall in love with any of these place differential guys.
Yep. And even guys like Chastain and Larson, I'm kind of shying away from them this week because we're on a normal track. If this wasn't a short track, those would be really, really interesting plays starting in the 30s.
Yeah, and between Ty Dillon last year and Chandler Smith in early 2023, don't be afraid to put a punt in there to get a couple dominators in. Started 37th, finished 17th, but ran barely inside the top 30. and he hits the optimal. Those are very frustrating plays. And Michael McDowell back in 23 finishing 6th, that would be very frustrating as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I guess there's a bunch of your instinct is going to be one dominator and then fill the rest of the card with place differential. But 2 dominators is very likely, if not even 3 dominators. Don't be afraid to play those mid-range guys, and don't be afraid to go to the bottom of the board to put that together your lineups. As far as lineup construction, anything else you wanted to go through, Taco? I think that's about it. We can look at last year's race, which was just straight Hamlin for most of it.
Yeah, you can see how everyone just kind of holds their positions here. You don't see a lot of passing really at all that first stage.
Yeah, and it even gets worse towards the end of the race. The majority of this third stage ran green, and find a guy here that gained more than 1 or 2 positions. Like, it's very difficult.
Choo-choo train.
Once they get spread out, once the tires get wore down a little bit, and you'll see this even in the practice time, everybody just starts going the same speed. So if you're in first place, chances are you're going to hold that until a caution comes out and things get crazy. I will say, and we saw this in the truck race, and you can kind of see it in the let me see if I can find an example. Yeah, like here. The first 30 laps of a run are where you're going to be able to make your passes. You'll see good cars. You saw Ty Majeski do it last night. He was always able to track down Corey Heim within 30 laps. Last year, Hamlin, ran in third for about a handful of laps and then was able to push forward to first. But once you get past that 30 lap threshold, it really just kind of slows down, and you're not going to see a whole lot of changing of position. So let's go into practice before we hop into driver by driver. As always, I like to bump off, for Richmond, I don't even mind bumping off like the first 20 laps of a run.
Goodbye, Logano.
Yeah, sorry, Logano, but we're not going to get a whole lot of information from you anyway. But yeah, bumping up the first 20 laps of a run, seeing who's better in that kind of mid to late, or I guess more mid. You do that, you kind of get a pretty clear picture of the upper echelon guys. Denny Hamlin, obviously jumping off the page. Richmond is, I would say, probably his best track, if not one of his best tracks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff we've been looking into, and we'll go into this a little more, Chase Elliott has been popping up quite a bit. Ryan Blaney, always a strong, long run kind of contender. And then Ryan Preece and Austin Cindric, both guys showing some decent pace in the longer run.
Yeah, then Group A. You got Josh Berry sticking out by far the most of everyone ran Group A. Yeah,
for sure. And I think it's worth noting, you'll see a lot of the single lap speed come from Group A when the track is very cool and not quite rubbered in yet. Once you get past that kind of 20 to 25 lap threshold, you don't really see a huge discrepancy between the two groups, other than the good cars tend to be in Group B.
Mm-hmm.
But Josh Berry, I wouldn't handicap him as much as I would where you're looking at late run speed being in Group A versus early run speed. This is probably pretty legitimate. He probably does have around top 10 pace on late runs, and that would be pretty consistent from what we've seen from Josh Berry at Richmond.
Yeah, he's really good here.
And then if you want to go even one step further, if I can do this without totally breaking Taco's sheets, I broke it. Hold on. Let me just take these and just copy and put them here just for the sake of example. Who's good? Really, really, really late run. Still kind of, let me just get rid of these guys. Boom. Blaney starts popping off the page. Chase Elliott starts popping off the page a little bit more. Barry moves up. Ty Gibbs, we talked about earlier. This is kind of interesting because Ty Gibbs' Achilles heel for so long has been his long run pace. Whether that's a mental thing or a car thing, still kind of figuring that out. But if he's got long run pace, then he becomes a very interesting play. Preece is still up in that kind of top 6 speed on long runs. Denny Hamlin's still there, of course. But you'll see, you have a couple standouts here, but once you get 30 laps into a run, everybody's kind of within a tenth. The whole field is within a tenth, and a tenth isn't enough to pass anybody. You need 3 or 4 tenths to be able to set up and complete a pass. So none of this really matters. You know, if Josh Berry is behind Denny Hamlin and is, 0.04 tenths faster than him, it doesn't really mean much. But I guess the one that jumps off the page here is Blaney and Chase Elliott are the two that would be the standouts from practice.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I'm going to take this back and go one step backwards and let that be our practice speeds. Let's go through this. Ian says those punts allow 3 or 4 DOMs, which is very much in play with 400 laps. Absolutely. Good point. I mean, we have a couple 500 lap races, but 400 is as many laps as we get when it comes to DFS. So a lot of Dominator points on the board. In cash, the PD plays are okay, but in GPP, you want to get as many fast cars as you can. Ian nailing it. Ian, we might have to invite Ian on the show because he knows this stuff better than we do. Grim, so it's better to have 3 Dominators than go overboard on my particular PD play. It depends on the contest, I would say, but for the most part, I wouldn't fall in love with any construction type in terms of your entire strategy. Like maybe you hit the mini-max with a full 3 Dominator run, but I wouldn't do, if you're playing like 200 lineups, I wouldn't do them all 3 Dominator. Yeah, exactly. Practice almost looks unusable. Yeah, practice was very predictive for the truck race, but this track is going to change so much. It's going to get rubbered in that first stage, and then the sun's going to go down, and the track temperature is going to go down, and everybody's going to get tight, and it's going to be entirely different. And you also, it's not super clear how these tires are going to react to a 70 lap or a 80 lap run. Wonder if NASCAR will give them an extra set of tires. They might. There's precedent for that, but I kind of hope not. I'd rather see carnage, to be honest.
I'm trying to remember if practice was like super predictive last year. I think was it Christopher Bell was like the fastest in practice, and he led like 100+ laps, so it was pretty usable.
Yeah, and a lot of those were early laps, right? Like I think.
Mm-hmm.
When did Bell get the lead? Yeah, in that first stage, Bell took the lead. So
he drove from 5th. Yeah, he had a good car early on, but the track changes, and who's fastest will change over the course of the night. It's probably that's how we get those races where we have 4 guys leading 80+ laps.
Yeah, so I think practice will be predictive for that first stage, but then it'll get a little more complicated. Mr. Sider says, so can we put the mortgage on Blaney and Elliott to finish top 10? Listen, you saw the end of the race last year. I wouldn't put the mortgage on anybody to finish in the top 10 in Richmond. Imagine you had the mortgage on Logano and Hamlin to finish in the top 10. Though I think Hamlin actually went backwards across the line and finished like 3rd in that race. But regardless, no, I wouldn't say anybody is a lock, especially when you get to these races where the playoff picture is starting to take shape. People get desperate and things get weird. I always say this when it comes to betting on NASCAR. I hate putting my money for a driver to achieve the goal that doesn't matter to them. Mm-hmm. So for, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney aren't going out there to finish top 10 tonight. They're going out to win. So for me to put money on a top 10 for Chase Elliott, I'm not aligning myself with Chase Elliott's specific goals. So I don't like it.
And also Blaney hates finishing top 10 here.
Yeah, I mean, and Blaney like pretty consistently, not even just here, but this year has finished top 3 or dead last. So, I don't like to align my money different than the goals of the driver themselves. Desperate Austin Dillon today. Well, maybe they still have that golden setup. And we'll see some Austin Dillon. But there, we've babbled for half an hour already. I think it's time we get into the driver by driver. And we've talked a lot about him, but I'll let you take the reins on Denny Hamlin, who is probably rightfully the race favorite here.
Yeah, that track history. Yeah, that's legit. That's just JGR is fucking awesome here. And then in practice, he had the best car. So there you go. Race favorite coming in. Still the race favorite.
Yeah, I mean, Hamlin just doesn't have bad performances at Richmond. I think anytime you see an outlier performance from him, first race 23, the 2020 race, those are mechanical or getting caught up at somebody else's mess. He is just
Chastained.
or Chastain. He is so good at managing equipment. And as we've talked about, Richmond, maybe more so than any other track, probably not any other track, but a lot of tracks, tire management, car management, fuel management, all those things are super, super important. And Denny Hamlin is probably the best in the field at that. You saw his practice times jumped off the page. He was top 5 just in about every category we played with. Starts 4th, which is similar to what he did at this race last fall. I think he started pole, fell back early, but was able to regain the lead. I wouldn't be surprised to see Denny Hamlin get held out of the kind of top 2 for the first stage. If he doesn't lead in the first stage, it wouldn't concern me too much. I think where you're really going to see Hamlin come alive is once the sun goes down, the track changes. He'll be able to adapt to that track quicker than anybody, and he's going to be borderline chalky, probably not quite 40% owned, but 35 plus in most contests. And I don't know, I kind of find myself matching that, if not being a little bit overweight on that projection.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with my notes here. My notes say JGR good. If you look at the average late race running position at the 3 short and flat tracks you've been to this season, the top 3 cars, Briscoe, Hamlin, Bell, all JGR. JGR good.
Yeah, JGR very good on short tracks this year. Jonathan, why is Brad K questionable? Did I miss something? He is questionable because I believe he's on baby watch. Yeah, I think his wife is about to have a baby. So
that's why we see LaJoy there. It was Joey Hand, but they switched him out for LaJoy.
Yeah, probably a wise decision. Maybe if we were on a road course, I'd go Joey Hand, but I don't know. I'll be honest. Brad K doesn't seem like the guy to miss a race for a baby. So I would be very, very surprised to see Brad K not in the car tonight. But maybe I'm wrong.
They never leave.
Yeah.
We've seen this a lot in NASCAR. I don't think they've ever left for the baby.
The only time is Denny Hamlin, who just didn't want to go to Mexico.
Yeah, but he made it clear a while ago. Yeah, he was like, fuck Mexico.
Yeah, I just don't want to go to Mexico, so I'm going to stay home with my... But I don't think anybody has ever missed a race because of that. Maybe we can get a better number on Hamlin if he falls back a little. Maybe. I would be very surprised to see Hamlin drop below kind of plus 300 at any point during this race, unless he has a tire issue or something. They are very, very hesitant. I've noticed this year more than ever. They're very hesitant to move the number on a pre-race favorite, even if they have an issue. Mm-hmm. So I would be very surprised if at some point in the race, and it makes sense, you can get them at like plus 400 or plus 500, especially early, kind of first half of the race. Definitely take a look, but I'd be very surprised if that happens.
Yeah, that's the thing about Hamlin at Richmond. He doesn't fall back.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Even if he doesn't kind of go up and take the lead early, I wouldn't expect him to fall outside of the top 5. Even last year when he started on the pole, he only fell back to 3rd. And then I don't know what happened on lap 125. Pit
cycle.
Probably pit cycle, yeah. And then immediately he recovered and went back to 3rd. So I don't anticipate him falling back too much. Christopher Bell, next one on the list. Again, JGR, good. Christopher Bell, pretty good at Richmond. Very, very good on short tracks this year. Kind of the anti-Denny Hamlin, a first, a second, and a kind of decent run at Iowa. I think Christopher Bell's superpower, when you look at guys that are able to manage equipment, it's all the old guys and then Christopher Bell. He is, of the new generation of drivers, I think the best at tire management. Maybe Ryan Blaney would be in that too, but his superpower is just his long run ability, his ability to manage tires. And while he has never won at Richmond, he's never really had a super bad performance, I don't think. And last year led a ton of laps. So certainly going to be a lot lower owned than Hamlin, but a lot of the same upside, I think.
Whoa. He's won 3 times here. He shit stomped this track in Xfinity.
Yeah, it wasn't even close in Xfinity.
We haven't really seen him pop off here yet, but he's always running top 5. Kind of know what to expect from him. He's just second fiddle to Hamlin.
Yeah, and that's what can be very frustrating about Richmond. We talk about how difficult it's going to be to pass towards the end of this race. If Bell just backs his way into first, a pit cycle, Bell gets ahead of Hamlin. Hamlin's faster. It won't really matter because they can't pass. So how do you predict, those dominator points towards the end of the stage? Just as well could fall Bell's way as they could Hamlin. So I don't mind building around Bell. You've got him projected at 23% ownership. That seems about right to me. I probably won't get much higher than that just because a lot of my runs didn't include Bell as a focal point, but for no other reason than there's a lot of other options on the table. He could certainly hit the optimal here.
Yep, and then we have our first of many baits on the slate, I think.
If
you look at Larson starting 30th, you think, okay, he's going to be 50% owned. Then you really think about it for a while. You're like, he's actually not going to be that high owned because Logano exists. He's really, really good here. And also Larson recently, we've seen it multiple times. His car's been getting fucked up early in the race, and then he just sends it back out there to get the fastest lap playoff point and calls it a day.
Yeah, he's been very consistently inconsistent, I would say, since Indy. Ian Larson makes me pause. This dude has been in a funk since Indy, it feels like. Yeah, it's definitely, and it's not, I don't think that is a theory anymore. I think even Larson would tell you, yeah, they haven't performed well. And I feel like we've done these podcasts a couple weeks in a row now with you and I feel like every time I say like, but it's Kyle Larson. He's starting 30. You got to play him, and he hasn't delivered in a single race over the course of the last couple months. I don't know. Richmond is a very good track for him, but it's a very kind of boom or bust track for him. He either dominates, leads a ton of laps, or kind of has a pedestrian run like these 19th, 14th, obviously 7th and third place finishes last year, but not dominant at all.
So you remember how I said the top 3 drivers in average late race running position was JGR? The top 3 in average early race running position, all Hendrick. So I would rather have good track position at the end of the race personally. It's just what we've seen from Hendrick here. Now, I think the sentiment on Larson will keep his ownership level, his leverage level, probably somewhat balanced. I think people will get off of him enough to where it's like an all right play. And the only data point I have for him that really makes me want to use him is the fact that this track in Kansas have the highest correlation of any 2 tracks, and he absolutely shit stomped at Kansas, leading over 200 laps. But yeah, it does feel like he is kind of taken over Byron's summer slump for him this year. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. And that had been a staple of Byron's season for the last 2, is dominant at the start of the season and then invisible for the summer and then ramp up back for the playoffs. It seems like it is definitely switched. If we take fast laps and lead laps out of the equation, Kyle Larson at 10,500 definitely needs a top 10, but probably even more like 7th.
Yeah.
7th scores 50.
And even then, like, he's competing against guys scoring 80 plus.
Yeah, I mean,
dominator points. Like, he would need to get fast laps on the way, which he does. You could probably pencil him in for at least like 15 fast laps, which gets you somewhere. But yeah, he's got. You're playing him because he is the type of person that can end up leading in this race eventually, and is pretty good with changing track conditions. But yeah, it feels like with Logano being right there, everyone's just going to pick Logano over him.
Yeah, and you go to the historical, let's sort by the drivers that ended up in the optimal lineup. Anything around 60 is kind of these low dollar drivers. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joey Logano last year probably was only 8,000. He wasn't running super well at the time. Hamlin hit the optimal scoring just 61 last year. That's probably so. I mean, you really need a top 5 out of Larson, and like maybe we pencil him in for 10 fast laps. He's still only going to score, around 70. I think it would be a bit surprising to me to see Kyle Larson lead extended laps in this race, given his recent form. So, even a top 5 run with a handful of fast laps with as many as place differential guys and dominators that are going to score in the 80s, it's not a super obvious spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's all to say. If you're nervous about leaving Larson out of your lineups, you can definitely make a case that he just can't score enough, because I don't think he's going to lead laps.
And then I guess the same can also kind of be said for Byron. Byron has more of a direct path to leading laps and did get that win at Iowa, but he didn't have the best car. He's just the first of many upcoming examples of guys who just aren't good at Richmond. And Richmond's a real track history track. Probably one of the top 5 track history tracks that we go to.
Yeah.
So when guys struggle here, they tend to struggle consistently. I mean, look at Briscoe, look at Byron. I feel like Bowman's also not very good here. Outside of him, he was just winning everything.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you never really see guys who are turn the corner at Richmond. I'm not very good at Richmond, but they got better. I mean, Chris Buescher, maybe. I think Chris Buescher struggled a lot here when he was younger, and he seemed to get a little better, but
it's just RFK is good.
Yeah, but you never really see drivers figure Richmond. It's kind of one of those things where you have it or you don't. And to this point, save for a top 3 run in 22, which was an early next gen race, kind of almost have to throw that out. Byron has never had a run here that would hit value. It's all just kind of mediocre runs. So I don't see myself playing a lot of Byron. The only thing about Byron is he's just that team right now just executes so well. Iowa, they shouldn't have won Iowa. They just executed so well that they backed their way into a win. And they don't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't get into a lot of trouble. So he's just kind of always hanging around, which if Richmond ends up ending like it did last year, that could be the difference between the optimal and not.
Yeah, and then, Byron, you see, again, the best average early running position. It's just a matter of finishing these short track races, which he did last time. Iowa was perfectly fine, but struggled at Martinsville with this exact tire, and he's expensive too.
Yeah, he's priced way up, and even Iowa, he won that race, but he just as easily, one less caution, and he finishes 21st.
In my eyes, Brad Keselowski won that race. I don't care that Byron finished first. The actual winner of the race was Keselowski for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't mind being a little underweight on William Byron. I think the most interesting place on this slate, or one of the more interesting spots, is Ryan Blaney, who starts 20th, really jumped off the page in practice, especially in super late run. Very consistently the fastest driver after 30 laps, along with Josh Berry, apparently.
Hey.
The problem is Ryan Blaney has never had a single good run at Richmond.
Never. 7th is by far his best finish here.
And again, that was the early next gen race, which is, again, you kind of got to throw that out.
Mm-hmm. That's why we have Suarez dominating races and whatnot.
None of these runs are good enough. That 7th, maybe, with how fast he is, he'll probably get a lot of fast laps on the back end of runs, but I don't know. That's what scares me. The only reprieve, I would say, is Ryan Blaney has had breakout runs at a couple different tracks this year. Mm-hmm. He even last year, Iowa, he was never really great at Iowa in any series, and he ran well there. You've seen him run and be super fast on long runs at a bunch of different types of tracks. I just don't think Richmond is the type of track where you see this immediate, he's going to finish outside of the top 10 6 races in a row, and then all of a sudden he's going to be the dominant car. It just doesn't make sense. And Jeremy, you nailed it. It's the long run speed. It's the only thing that's going for Blaney, and that's what's frustrating, is because he gets a ton of fast laps, especially on the long end of runs. But are we going to get a long enough run? He starts 20th. maybe he can get to the top 10 by the third stage restart. He's going to be 7 seconds back by the time that all plays out. Is there enough time to make a push into the top 5? I don't know. And this is a short track. Lap traffic will mess up the long run speed. I don't know. I think in any other track, I'd be putting to win bets on Blaney, but in this situation at a track like Richmond, I just can't bring myself to get too excited about it.
Yeah, it's just the added importance of track history here. And I mean, you kind of want to be on it when he has that breakout, but I don't know, it just doesn't look super good for him here. And then you got Chase Elliott starting top 5 as well.
Yeah, Chase Elliott's a lot more interesting to me because if you look at his pace in practice, not that far off Blaney and a lot more palatable of a track history. Pretty consistently inside of the top 5 in the next gen. Certainly top 10 pretty consistently. Starting 5th, will have good track position the whole race and seems to have a long run pace, and recent form is really, really strong. Has been strong week after week. I mean, he's been good all season, but seems to finally be in a position to lead races and dominate races.
Yeah, he put up a ton of fast laps the last time he used his tire compound at Martinsville. Kind of always good at Martinsville, but was really good at Bowman Gray to start the season too. If you want to look into that at all, he's really, really good there. Just a good track type for him. We haven't seen like the wins or really as many like lead laps here as we have at places like Bristol, but odds wise, he's like 4th favorite on the slate. He's fine. Starting on the inside row, starting 5th. Good track position to start with. Great crew.
Yeah, I think the concern with Chase Elliott is with Hamlin going to be right beside him or right in front of him on the initial start. Bell not far behind. Seems like Priest has enough speed to lead. It could end up being one of those situations where Chase Elliott is fast, just not fast enough to get any dom points. And, he starts 5th and kind of finishes 5th, scores you 53 points, which probably isn't enough. So the concern is he's very, very fast, just not as fast as Hamlin or Bell or Priest even.
Yeah, and his mojo might be broken too. His top 20 streak finally came to an end because of some pretty piss poor calls last week by Alan Gustafson. So
yeah, and I don't know if you saw the clip of him deciding the stage was over and backing off at Watkins Glen. And then Joey Logano, which kind of just ends up being he'll be the most popular guy on the slate, probably 50% plus owned in whatever contest you're in. And for good reason. Richmond, practice, tire trouble aside, qualifying issues aside, damage aside, just a really, really good track for Joey Logano.
Yeah, I've always played tons of Logano at Richmond because if it ain't broke, you don't. I mean, it's just every single year. Yeah, his only win here came when he was cheating. But I don't care about that. It's DraftKings.
Yeah.
But yeah, just top 5 pretty permanently here. Starts in the rear. Priced up, of course, for this track history, but I mean, starting 38th. It's about as good as you can get. He's just down a set of tires, right? Like he's going to be super chalky.
And consider that in a world where Austin Dillon doesn't drive in 6 car. I mean, look what his track history should look like.
Yeah, realistic.
It's pretty insane. His level of consistency at Richmond. I think the only concern, and probably not a concern, I'm sure they'll end up getting it sorted out, but in theory is down a set of tires because you have to start on the tires you qualified in. He appeared to maybe wear through his right front. They were smoking a lot on his qualifying run. If those tires are no good, they have to put a new set on, so they're going to start down a set. Regardless, they'll figure it out. They'll start on scuffs or something. So I think the important thing here for Joey is just staying on the lead lap in that first run, and then he'll be off and running. And even if Joey goes down a lap on that first run, I wouldn't be super, super concerned because Paul Wolf is just a magician when it comes to strategy. They'll figure something out to get back on the lead lap.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Briscoe, interesting one. Another guy, it's kind of hard to get a read on Chase Briscoe's track history because he was just not in equipment that was capable of running inside the top 10. And still, he had some pretty decent runs here. If you watch qualifying, he said he was a bit of a fish out of water at Richmond, but I think he's been a fish out of water at about every track this year once he's finally got in a good car. But I don't know. It's an interesting spot because it's just hard to tell what Briscoe's capable of at a track like Richmond.
Yeah, and he is very vocal about struggling here. He was not very good here in the Xfinity series when he had one of the absolute best cars, struggled to finish in the top 5. But that said, he's done really good this year at tracks that Truex was good at. And just last year, Truex dominated this race. Like a really, really good spot for him. Also, JGR good. You can't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah. Chances are Chase Briscoe has this setup in the car that Briscoe led almost more than half the race with. Difference is, I think there's a big difference between Truex and Briscoe when it comes to Richmond.
It is an old man track, and Truex is an old man. Hamlin's an old man.
Yeah, and we've seen Briscoe struggle with Truex's setups. It's certainly in the first half of races, kind of starts to figure it out towards the end. But I don't know, just ends up being a nondescript play for me. Doesn't jump off the page as much as it probably should. But if Briscoe kind of figures out Richmond and these are examples of him taking a top 20 card and putting it nearly in the top 10, then certainly could see Briscoe kind of compete for a top 5 here.
Yeah, you've got to adjust that track history upwards because 11th to 20th place in Stewart-Haas equipment is 5th to 10th place in JGR equipment.
Yeah. So we'll see. You've got him pegged here at 17% owned. I don't mind being overweight. I don't mind going above 20 for Briscoe, especially on GPP runs where you're trying to get away from some of these chalk PD plays and find guys in that kind of 15th to 25th range. I think this is a really good option.
Yeah, I just wish we saw some more in practice. And I guess him not qualifying well for once is a touch concerning, but I think he'll be all right.
Yeah. Let's see. Boys, how important are those option tires going to be? No option tires. I think these tires are just the option tires that they ran last year, right? I
think it's the left side is the option tire from last year, and then the right side is a little softer or something.
Yeah. So only one tire compound that they can put on, but the concern is they're wearing too fast and they're going to be they're not going to have enough sets. I don't think that'll be an issue, but Brad K seems to think so, and he would know much better than me. Old men save tires, correct. Mm-hmm. Old men are very great at saving tires. Briscoe, elite current form. That's true. He, once Briscoe figured out how to drive these JGR cars, you could definitely see the change in his performances.
Yeah, and his price tag.
Yeah, they are. He was down around here not too long ago, and now they've got him boosted up. So, yeah, I think I was a big believer in Chase Briscoe at the start of the year, and I was a little underwhelmed, but I think he's starting to hit his potential now. And so definitely a good play if you're trying to get away from all this PD chalk. Takes us to Brad Keselowski, who
second favorite on the slate now.
Yeah, how crazy is that? Where is that coming from?
Plus 450. Jesus Christ. It's coming from Iowa. They're just chasing Iowa because he had a rocket ship at Iowa. Not the same tire compound. Well, it's the only short flat track we've been to, points paying one since Martinsville 5 months ago?
Yeah, and we talked about, I don't remember if we were on air or off air, but Iowa is not, it looks like Richmond a little bit, but it's a very different track. I would not use Iowa.
It's not a blocking track, really. The pavement, some of the pavement's new tire management wasn't as important there.
How did Keselowski do in these races? Did he gain a bunch of, pretty mediocre run here last fall?
Yeah, he pushed forward a bit.
Yeah, an okay run.
Like a second favorite.
Yeah, just nothing jumping off the page. Maybe you're chasing Busher won here a couple years ago, was fast. Briscoe or Priest on the pole, so RFK seems to have a little bit of speed. But I mean, if they're taking enough money on Brad Keselowski to be second favorite, he's probably going to be a little overowned and overplayed. And there's nothing jumping off the page. Mike White, correct, Brad, very good at tire management. I would put him right up there with Denny in terms of tire management. And you look at the track history, certainly pre-next gen, elite, post-next gen, probably more representative of the cars he's been in rather than his ability. But I don't know. I just think the discourse around Brad Keselowski is, it's him versus Hamlin tonight, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit better, back when he was full on Team Penske. That's when he was really a top 10, like, permanent force here. RFK kind of all over the place. They clearly got some speed, though, with them being on the pole.
Yeah.
But I think people are just really chasing Iowa because that burned a lot of people, including me.
Yeah, for sure. And my win bet, which was not placed at plus 400, was much, much longer than that. I will certainly not be playing Brad Keselowski at plus 400, but I don't know. If he's going to be super over-owned, I think I'm more comfortable to let a play like that beat me. If I go and lose tonight because Brad Keselowski led a bunch of laps and, those ones you just take on the chin. But I'm not going to go and play Brad Keselowski starting sixth at 30% to get leverage on him. That just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, just root for the baby.
Yeah. And then Corey LaJoie comes and wins. Chris Buescher, another one. He's got those kind of standout performances in early next gen days, but other than that, really, really bad track. And he has admitted, he's talked about, not a good track for him, not a track he's liked. He has improved on it, but starting 12th, save RFK having some sort of magic setup that everyone knows about except me and you, I don't see a whole lot of upside for Chris Buescher without some silliness and strategy stuff going on.
That was him in 2023. If you remember, he won here, but that was like in a stretch of races that he was just winning. Like, he was unstoppable at short flat tracks for a little bit and then kind of went back to like his regular form. He opened at 26, and I was at 46. Vegas really hates him compared to Keselowski, even though he's only starting 6 spots further back, and he's won here recently. So they do not believe in the Buescher this week.
Yeah. What's he priced at now?
40.
Yeah, I mean 40-1. That's probably what he was at when he won this race a couple years ago. So yeah, I don't find myself playing a lot of Buescher, not a lot jumping off the page. An interesting spot on this slate though is Tyler Reddick, and I say that's an interesting spot. Obviously, the outside from the second row back is the preferred lane. I suspect he'll be on the inside. I suspect Priest will take the outside on the first restart, try to get a good launch. Priest isn't a great restarter. He doesn't restart on the front that often. Tyler Reddick is an elite restarter. And remember, at the start of races, the pole sitter doesn't have an advantage. The flag waver starts the race. And you have Priest, not a really experienced front row starter, versus Tyler Reddick, who's one of the best. I don't even mind considering Tyler Reddick to be the pole sitter here, because I think there's a 50-50 chance he gets the lead off the start. I think there's a really good chance that Ryan Priest is too conservative going into turn one. We know Tyler Reddick's not going to be super conservative. I do think there is a chance, 50-50 or more, that Tyler Reddick gets the lead off the start and just dominates a good portion of the first start of this race and puts himself in contention for the optimal.
Yeah, when you've got a cheap guy up front, like a Eric Almirola type, which is, I guess, if you consider Priest here, looking at that second place starter is oftentimes a good move, compared to it being like a surefire guy like Larson or Hamlin starting up front. Reddick, not really typically good at this track type. He's just in a unique position to get a lot of points early on. He's had problems finishing the races, but clearly there's at least some speed here, able to put himself up there.
Yeah, and ran really well here last year, and if I remember, even had some fast laps. I mean, a handful, 10, which is not nothing. And then
it's good for him at a flat track.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, we don't need him to go out there and win. I just need him to lead a good portion of that first stage and then kind of hang in the top 6 or 7. I just go, I mean, how many times has Ryan Preece in his career, Ryan Preece is like 34 years old. How many times in his career has he started the race on the front row? I can think of one, maybe twice. 2 or 3. Yeah.
I mean, Martinsville, he did great, led all stage 1, but that's like really easy to do. Yeah, we got for stage 1 winner, Denny Hamlin plus 225, Reddick plus 450. Preece is all the way back at plus 700, 7th favorite to win stage 1.
Yeah, I think Ryan Preece, if he gets, I think that's a really good play if he can get the lead off the start. I just think the more I think about it, it's just a tough spot for a guy who's not used to starting on the pole. One career pole before. So he's done it once in his Cup career, once in his Xfinity career, once in his, so 3 times in his career, he has started the race on the front row.
He did it once in Cup, and he had a teammate starting second that just okie dokied. So this should be a much harder run than that. It's surprising to see Larson as better stage 1 odds starting 30th than starting first. Yeah,
that shows you the respect that Kyle Larson get. But Tyler Reddick is just an elite restarter. We know he's not going to be conservative into turn 1. Ryan Preece does not have the benefit of picking where they restart. He has to go when the flag goes, when the flag starts the race. The only benefit he will have is he gets to choose the lane. But even in the truck race, I don't think it was super obvious that one lane was better than the other. We saw Corey Heim pretty consistently beat Ty Majeski, who was obviously a better car on the restart. I don't know. I think there's a good chance Reddick gets the lead off the start and dominates a lot of this first stage.
Yeah, that's not someone people are used to clicking on at a flat track, that's for sure.
Yeah, so definitely an angle you can take for this one. Obviously, a real GPP type of play, because if he doesn't, and even if he runs second all day, he's not going to hit the optimal. So risky, but I think you can make a case.
Mm-hmm. And then, Reddick is in on points, so he's fine. He's not going to lose a 100-point lead. Yeah,
but I mean, he's definitely a guy that could use some playoff points, because I don't think he has more than 2 or 3. Reddick has 1 playoff point. So,
oh God.
A first stage win, a second stage win, those playoff points would be very valuable to a guy like Tyler Reddick. So expect him to be very aggressive. And then we kind of get to the interesting range here. Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, 28th, 33rd.
Can you afford these guys? That's kind of the question of the slate. You're like, okay, Logano is way better. Just on paper, he's probably worth being 1,000 more, right? These guys, do you play these mid-range place differential guys like this, or do you just go down deep so that you can grab another dominator? That's kind of the question here.
Yeah, it really is. And the complicated part is this is a really good track for both of these guys. I mean, especially Kyle Busch, but even Ross Chastain, very consistent at Richmond.
Look at this track type history, just pure top 15s.
Yeah, really, really super solid and really pretty decent in practice. Obviously didn't have the single lap speed, but his long run pace isn't that far off. Chastain makes a lot of sense. I think he'll be the more popular play here. I just get the feeling that Kyle Busch and RCR have a little more up their sleeve. You know, there's that whole story around the stolen setups and that stuff. I don't know how much of that is true, but Kyle Busch, 28th at Richmond. You can pick out maybe 3 starts in here where he wouldn't hit the optimal in this situation. I just think I find myself a little more bullish on Kyle Busch. I like both of them, but I just think you're going to get Kyle Busch at lower ownership with similar upside.
Well, you can see who Vegas prefers. It's very clear. They have Kyle Busch significantly ahead of Ross Chastain.
Yeah, they're chasing that stolen setup money.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
But Chastain has more floor. He's more likely to just get you that 12th and be fine. 60 fantasy points, which borderline.
Yeah, super strong play. I think the other thing to point out when it comes to Kyle Busch too, so you got Kyle Busch, you've got Austin Dillon, who qualified almost top 10, AJ Allmendinger, which is an RCR affiliate, he qualified 3rd, Ty Dillon, RCR affiliate. He was 16th, but he went out super, super early. That 16th is very, very impressive. I think if Ty Dillon qualified kind of 10th or 5th to last, that's much closer to the top 5 than it was top 16. RCR, the organization across the board, has a ton of pace here. Kyle Busch made a mistake in qualifying, but I think he'll be really strong here.
I feel like he got loose on one of his laps or something. I wonder if that means that Jesse Love is playable.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's KB hasn't finished top 10 in any short tracks recently. Yeah, Kyle Busch. Phoenix. Yeah, I mean Phoenix, but Kyle Busch has a finishing problem right now.
Yeah.
But he's pretty consistently run inside the top 15 for sure. It's just he's not been able to put a full race together, and I don't know if that's a Kyle Busch problem or an RCR problem, but if you look at
last year, it's gotten better this year.
Yeah. I mean, I hope we get, 35 seems like the upper limit of what he'll be played in a lot of the big contests. I don't mind being overweight on that 35. I don't know how much further than like 40 I would go, but I like the leverage on Kyle Busch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty close to even in ownership because, Busch has the odds advantage, but Chastain's starting further back, kind of has that floor advantage, the practice advantage. They're coming out pretty damn equal for me.
Yeah, Chastain definitely is it seems like a pretty safe play.
Mm-hmm. He's all floor, and Busch has the upside.
Yeah, Kyle Busch certainly doesn't feel safe by any means. Another one that kept popping a lot in some of the pre-race stuff we look at, Josh Berry.
Yeah, he kept coming up nonstop. We are forced to pay attention to this guy right now, even though he's in pretty awful overall form right now. But this track type specifically, and this track that we've seen him, finish runner-up in Hendrick equipment out.
Yeah.
Good
practice, good track type history, good track history. Had a bunch of fast laps at Kansas, which we know is correlated. Had a bunch of fast laps at Martinsville, which had the same tire type. Just kind of jumping off the page. And when you kind of bundle him right next to Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain, where the eye is going to go naturally, I don't mind stealing some leverage on Josh Berry on a track that's probably, this was a strategy race that I think he replaced Chase Elliott in this race, and they got second on strategy, and he had a really good run. But top 15 runs in your rookie year in a dying SHR equipment.
Mm-hmm.
That's very notable. And for all intents, he's in a Penske car here. This is the same, or very close to the gear that Blaney and Logano and Cindric have prepared in the same shop. So I think there's a lot of upside here, and I think he's going to be a lot lower owned than he should. And like we talked about, everybody wants to play these kind of obvious dominator plays when the statistics show you that a lot of the optimals are going to come from that kind of 15th to 24th range, and Josh Berry fits right in there. So I like Josh Berry. I find myself playing a lot of him in this position.
Yeah, I haven't liked Berry a lot recently. I feel like he had his win early in the season, and it's been a real struggle with him since then. But going into his Cup career, we knew he was going to be someone to watch at the short, flat tracks. This is where he had his breakout performance, and he's yet to really have a bad run here. So, yeah, 8K, he's priced up probably appropriately, but I like the practice times. I'll try to be a little over on him.
Yep, for sure. Ian, I just think the 8,500 tag on KB makes him awkward. Personally, I Dodie Doms, and his PD probably won't get you there at 35% outfade. Yeah, definitely a fair assessment. I think what's the RCR upside across the board is what's getting me excited. Alex Bowman, top 10. He's got a win here, but for the most part, this isn't a great track for Alex Bowman. And Alex Bowman has been pretty pedestrian over the course of the summer, just kind of consistently running 7th to 15th everywhere.
And he's points racing hard. And that win he was on a stretch of like 3 wins. Like he was just winning everywhere. It didn't matter what the track was.
Yeah. So just a sprinkle play, no reason to target him. I don't think just kind of an okay play. We've already talked a whole lot about Ryan Preece. It's really just a matter if he gets the lead off the start. If he loses the lead, he still has pretty good pace. Like you see it in his long run pace.
all you need to look at here is average early running position 22.2, his average late running position 8.8. He is one of the best race finishers, and he'll have the best pit stall. So even if he doesn't dominate early on, like you've seen, finishes at Martinsville, Iowa in the top 7, like he has legit top 10 upside at this point. Like you can consider his upside to be up there along with Keselowski and Buescher.
Yeah, and I mentioned this in my notes. If you're going to play some of these high dollar PD guys, you almost have to play Ryan Preece. You're almost forced into it because you need to get a dominator at a price point like this. So, we already talked about him a lot when we were talking about Reddick, but if he doesn't get the lead off that first start, this becomes a lot more complicated. But even still, if Reddick does lead a majority of the stage, I don't think you're dead in the water. Even if, I guess without many, let's give him 15 lead laps for the sake of it, finishes in the top 5, getting 45 points from a guy at 7,600, and you're building around these PD guys is still pretty valuable. So it's definitely a play that can burn you. And if Reddick beats him on the start, that would definitely scare me, but it doesn't kill your day, I don't think. So, he's going to be a popular play. It's going to be hard to get leverage on him is the only thing, but if you're doing that lineup construction, the heavy PD, you're kind of forced into playing Priest. So it's not like you have a lot of options. Bubba Wallace is the next one. I know you were finding some upside to Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, just this is the best track for DraftKings scoring from guys starting top 10. So Bubba, you play him. Pretty decent price in the 7K range. He's on fire right now. I think 4 straight finishes, a 7th or better. The win at Indy, so he's not points racing anymore. Was good here last year. Just a lot to like from Bubba. Just a good, solid value play.
Yeah, obviously starting 7th is a little scary. If he falls outside of the top 10, it kind of gets a little complicated. But take the win at Indy away. He's just running really good, like consistently well inside the top 10. You look at the recent short flat tracks, top 3 at Martinsville, and was one of the fastest cars in the late run of that race, if I remember correctly. Was good all day at Iowa, which I thought could be a letdown spot for him, coming off a big kind of cathartic win. And then he went out and had another great race. Like he's just in really solid form right now and gets to go to a track where he's performed pretty well at in the past. It's certainly a play that gets lost among kind of some really obvious spots. Guys like Josh Berry, guys like Bubba Wallace are ones that are going to win GPPs probably. So a really good spot.
Yeah, I just think that people don't really like the single digit starting position spots that aren't like super obvious, like lap leading dominators, but you got to remember that this is like the best possible track to be in that scenario. And if you're playing a deep place differential guy, they've got to worry about getting stuck laps down as we're Bubba starting 7th. That's good enough to not have to worry about going a lap down this entire race.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Lead. Like he could lead laps in this race. Like
certainly. Absolutely. He's not, his pace isn't that far off. Top 10 pace in long run.
His crew is amazing.
Really great pit crew. And Bubba Wallace is really good. I mean, we talk about guys of the new gen that are good at managing equipment. Mm-hmm. Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, those are kind of the top tier. Bubba Wallace is probably in the tier below that. He's a really good tire manager. So definitely a guy who could get some lap. And as scary as that 7th place is, you go to, this is a list.
It's not even scary. It's almost comforting at a track like this. What's scary is starting 36th.
Yeah.
And you've got a fast Hamlin behind you. Like, that's scary.
The next gen races at Richmond, 37, whatever it is, look how many of the people that ended up in the optimal started with a single digit starting spot. Like a lot more than usual. Obviously, there's some big PD guys in there, but Martin Truex Jr. starting 7th.
Right there, Bubba Wallace starting 5th.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace starting 5th. So definitely don't let that scare you. I mean, we've kind of over talked about it at this point, but don't fall in love with the PD. Don't be afraid to play some guys like Bubba here. And Ian allows better chance at fast laps. Yeah, you're not going to get too many fast laps outside of a pit cycle if you're running in the 20s. Just the air's too dirty. It's not going to work. So definitely some upside. Austin Dillon's, I don't know.
Oh, hey, Satan.
I don't even know what to do with Austin Dillon. Obviously, won this race last year and was legitimately fast, legitimately a top 3 car.
Mickey Mouse. Yeah, if Stenhouse didn't wreck with like a few laps to go, he was winning that race by like 3.5 seconds. Like, yeah, you do have to give him a little bit of credit there. Now, was that an RCR car? Who knows? But
yeah, there was a lot of that Richmond race is cursed. Obviously, the Ricky Stenhouse wreck, which led to the restart, which led to Austin Dillon wrecking everybody in front of him to win. But Austin Dillon was legitimately fast. Obviously, there ended up being a lot of controversy around the setup that they had in this car. And a guy got fired from JGR who now works for RCR. A lot of stuff going along. But I go back to what I said about Kyle Busch. RCR as an organization, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, AJ Allmendinger, Ty Dillon, which are all RCR affiliated cars, as well as Jesse Love, which is almost a different situation. All of them appear to have pace. So for all the reasons we talked about Bubba Wallace being a fine play and Josh Berry being a fine play, I think you can find ways to get Austin Dillon in your lineup, especially like we said, legitimate dominator last year, legitimate dominator points, fast laps and laps led. So
this is also Dillon's best track. We've mentioned how this is a track history track. He has one hell of a track history here. It's 7 top 10s in his last 12.
Yeah. And that's even more so impressive when it's Austin Dillon. Like, is there any other track on the circuit that Austin Dillon has 7 top 10s at? Probably not. He was
32nd in points before the Richmond race last year.
Yeah, so
that's how good he is at Richmond, apparently.
And practice times, obviously, a little bit off on the long run pace, but he was last year too. Obviously qualified good. And even you look at, put Richmond and all the carnage last year's race beside, has just run well at correlated tracks since then. Was good at Martinsville. Phoenix was competitive at Iowa last week. So definitely.
He's in a better spot on FanDuel price-wise and just situation-wise. It's a little easier to start towards the front and score well on FanDuel.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good for DraftKings as well this year. For this race with this amount of laps. It's just the pricing is a little bit better over there. He is priced up. Like Austin Dillon at 7.3. Like, what is this? A super speedway?
Yeah,
that's like next week. Next week he'll be in the 7K, maybe 8K.
Yeah. Hocevar, I don't know. Can Hocevar run 400 laps here?
This is like so antithetical of a track for him. It's like this favors the veterans, the old guard, the old men, the conservative, and he's just like a young, aggressive stud.
He's going to go out and run 400 qualifying laps, have no tire. He's going to be running on the rims by the end of runs. I think the biggest concern here, and this is my concern, this is the general concern with Hocevar, the way he races anyway. You get to a track like Richmond where you can't complete a pass without the car in front of you agreeing to let you by.
Mm-hmm.
It's just impossible. You can't. The way you run off the corners, there's not enough room to forcibly take a position. At a certain point, the car in front of you needs to concede the position. Otherwise, you're going to make contact. You might get by them, but you're going to have to make contact. Anyway, the field doesn't let Hocevar do that. So he's going to get run hard by every single driver in the field. And then on top of that, you're in a position where tire wear is going to be at such a premium. I don't know. I just think it's going to be a long day for Hocevar. He's obviously, he ran pretty well here last year, but I think he finished
before his reputation started preceding him. Going into this race with the reputation he has now, I don't think people will be as nice with letting him pass.
Yeah. So I don't know. And he spun in practice. I think you can sprinkle him in, but I just think it's going to be a really difficult kind of race for Carson Hocevar here.
Full fade on FanDuel.
Is he priced way up?
No, it's just the way that FanDuel is. They're 400 laps. So if anyone has any sort of DNF your lineup is completely toast.
Okay.
So those super aggressive, scary drivers, the Stenhouses, the Hosefars of the world, pretty safe to avoid them over there.
Ty Gibbs up next. Interesting play because he's getting priced so far down at this point. I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact this is a JGR car with, I think, a driver that most consider pretty top tier. Obviously it hasn't manifested in the next gen car, but this is a JGR car with a good driver starting 23rd at 7,000. Kind of makes sense in a lot of ways, and I think the thing that gets me most excited is he was competitive his long run speed in practice was certainly competitive, and I think that's been kind of his Achilles heel over the past couple, or maybe his whole time in the next gen, is he just long run falls off a cliff. Mm-hmm. We saw it last week at Watkins Glen. We've seen it over and over again in the next gen car. Super, super fast in the first kind of early runs and then falls off, but seems to have some competitive long run speed here, maybe starting to calm down, maybe starting to employ some tire management techniques. Maybe he can take a couple lessons from his teammate Denny Hamlin, but in theory, a really good spot, I think, here for Ty Gibbs.
Yeah. So, I mean, Toyota Bowman here, just awful at finishing, just so bad at finishing these races. You can see it's been since Phoenix early last year that he's had a top 10 run at a short flat track, but he's had like pace too. That's the thing. He's been fine. We've seen him conserve tires before, like Bristol last year, but man, he cannot finish these races, and Vegas really hates him at this point.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying he's cheap also. It's kind of why he's going to be in play. He's so cheap.
Yeah, I got to imagine last year was kind of a rock bottom moment for that team, because it wasn't that long ago. I mean, 2 years ago, Gibbs was the fastest car at Watkins Glen, and they were in a position strategy wise. They were first as far as their strategy went last week, and he just fully crashed out. The whole team was yelling at each other. They fell back about 20 spots. I gotta imagine that was a rock bottom for him, and hopefully they can have a much calmer run, and doesn't need to do a whole lot. Like, this is a JGR car at 7,000. Ty Gibbs finishes 13th, similar run to Martinsville. That score is 42. That's fine. That's enough. So, you're only kind of looking for a top 15 run here from Ty Gibbs with a couple of fast laps, which he gets pretty much every week. Yeah, I think you can
same old with Ty Gibbs. You're just always talking about, like, yeah, if he can finish, he's gonna be good.
Yeah,
every fucking week.
I'm sure you could go back and hear that exact same spiel on about 4 different podcasts this year. So, yeah, but in theory, I guess is the way to put it, a really strong play.
Yep, just like communism. Austin Cindric. I don't know. There's pace in the practice, but he kind of sucks at this track. Is the thing, like.
Yeah, just the practice pace is interesting, but starting 13th
group or a bunch of guys, like he was right there with like Allmendinger and them.
Just kind of, you're starting to chase. He needs a career best run, and even almost, save for Martinsville, a career best short track run as far as the last kind of 18 months go. You need a top 10 for sure, if not a top 8. To see Cindric in the lineup, and that's just not something he consistently does enough to get excited about. And you look at Ty Gibbs, okay, a guy we know has pace, seems to have a little speed, good track type. We just need him to top 15. And then you go to Cindric, terrible track type, okay practice. We need him to finish top 8. It gets tough to get to a guy like Cindric.
Yeah, this is the first of 2 pre-rookies, I guess, as I'd call them, just getting reps, practice races.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, I don't know, I kind of believe in Heim just in his ability to kind of, I guess the upside for him would be like when Zane Smith first started getting the reps in a similar spot to Heim, where he just puts his nose down, pushes around, gets a decent finish. It's just Love, I think, has more, he's got that RCR connection going on. Behind, we've seen a little bit from him.
Yeah, Heim had a good run earlier in the year. I forget, maybe Kansas. Was it at Kansas? Yeah,
at Kansas. He finished 13th.
Yeah, I think that my concern with Corey Heim, and as I say this, you'll have to ignore the fact that he won the truck race last night, but
Yeah.
he doesn't like Richmond. He said he struggles at Richmond, and my big concern here is he's going to get lapped on that first run and never be able to recover from that, and you're going to have to rely on carnage. But as far as like in terms of talent and equipment, Corey Heim is 2311, the third car, obviously capable of running inside the top 15. Corey Heim, probably the most talented driver outside of the Cup Series, save for maybe Connor Zilich.
Yeah.
But it's certainly very, very playable and helps you get some of these higher dollar PD plays in. But I don't know. I just worry he's going to get lapped in that first run and never be able to recover.
Yeah, I think he's going to be stuck laps down is kind of the issue. He would benefit from carnage. And also, like you said, they got to kind of agree to let you pass. And I don't think people are going to want people who aren't even rookies yet, little kids, pass them. Like it's like an ego thing.
Yeah, and Corey Heim's going to have to learn how to pass in these cars on short tracks. I think this is his first start.
Yeah, the short track.
It just could be a long race. Probably this is more so a carnage play. Like, is there enough carnage to make him viable? Because I don't think he's going to go and naturally pass his way to the top 20.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's so dominant in trucks that you could, like, he won the race and you could still tell if he doesn't really like Richmond.
Yeah. Yeah. And he said as much during practice and stuff yesterday. Daniel Suarez, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like you hate to say that.
He led a bajillion laps here last year. I was shocked. I completely forgot that when I was looking through.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Which race? Oh, he did lead about 100 laps. Wow.
He led a bajillion laps out of nowhere.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I just get the feeling, and you hate to say it, but this team just isn't in a position to succeed right now. Like,
yeah,
pretty mediocre runs in all the short tracks this year, especially compared to last year and the last couple weeks. If you look at we'll go to the trusty Wikipedia just to see.
He had a good run last week, but it was at a road course.
But I forget exactly which race. I think it was maybe before Chicago that they announced that he wouldn't be returning. He was pretty consistently running in the top 20. The announcement comes, and all of a sudden you're barely able to crack the top 25. Does it say here?
And it was at a couple of tracks he's pretty good at, like
July 1st, and that was Chicago, right? July 6th. So yeah, before Chicago, they announced, hey, you're not coming back next year. And ever since, barely able to crack the top 25. I think you can throw the Glen out because that's a road course, but I don't know. I think we're just going to get a similar Iowa kind of run here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of avoiding him rest of season. Maybe glance at him at road courses, but yeah, not interested.
Eric Jones, if we put him in a Joe Gibbs car, maybe, but in this situation has not been super competitive at Richmond.
Yeah, and then Nemechek, his teammate, may as well talk about him together. Yeah, he's got the starting position to work with. It's just he's going to get lapped.
Yeah, I think that's the concern. Kind of a similar situation to Corey Heim. Obviously, Nemechek and for that fact, Eric Jones have both run okay on this track type. I just think you're going to fall a lap down. And if they lap up to, if the first run goes green, they're going to lap up to like 25th. And without a flurry of cautions, you're just not going to get that lap back. So kind of becomes a carnage play.
Yeah, I don't even know who I'd prefer because Jones is safer to stay on the lead lap, right? But starting 18th, like where do you get fantasy points from, And then John Hunter would just need carnage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I prefer John Hunter just because, things play out the right way.
Yeah, he has upside. As for Jones, I don't know where the upside is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I find myself playing a little more John Hunter and hoping somehow he stays on the lead lap. But Michael McDowell and AJ Allmendinger kind of just sprinkle plays, not a whole lot of upside. Allmendinger jumping off the page in terms of speed, but what's he going to do? Finish third? Probably not.
Dominate the race.
Yeah. We've spent all this time talking about Priest and Reddick, and this Allmendinger gets the lead off the start. Probably not. Obviously had some good pace, but both these guys start a little too high to be relevant. Zane Smith,
we just never seen it here with Allmendinger.
Yeah, and that's what I always go back to. Like, are we chasing outlier performances?
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, for both of those guys, we are. Zane Smith is kind of a guy that becomes interesting. Jake obviously pointing it out. I like Zane Smith down there. Zane Smith running a lot better than you might realize. If we bring up his trusty Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I noticed that he dropped to 500 to 1, but it's worth noting that he also dropped to 500 to 1 last week, and he still finished like 17th. He is pretty good. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, you take out Indy. That was both Iowa and Indy you can kind of scratch out because those were most of our crash out races.
Yep.
Dover 22nd is a decent enough run. And then, earlier in the season, very consistently running inside of the top 20. Richmond, not a track that he has a lot of experience on because they don't run it very often in the truck series where he spent so much time, but a third place run, decent enough, net top 10. Just when you're searching for value here, a guy that can get you a 20th place finish and score 30 points. That's kind of all you need in this range.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Dinger was cheating. He was trying to cheat. He got his crew chief kicked.
Mr. Harry says Priest a lock. Yeah, listen, for me it's really just a matter of Priest or Reddick getting the lead off the start is the difference there. Zane Smith, very playable. Noah Gregson, probably not as playable. Just been terrible.
Aggressive.
Yeah. Similar situation to Hocevar, like just not going to get any breaks, really slow in practice, qualified a little too well, would need a breakout run here. I mean, last year was much more consistent, but that's an SHR gear. I don't know, just not a ton of upside. And same with Van Gisbergen, okay in practice, but
no right turns here.
Yeah, and his first start at Richmond in the Cup Series, probably going to be a tough go. These are probably where you're going to end your viable plays. I mean, we'll talk about Jesse Love too, but Todd Gilliland has been pretty good on short tracks. Not even this year, just in his career. He's just a better short tracker than he is anything else. Starts 31st, but really, really consistently runs around the top 20 at Richmond.
Mm-hmm. Stays on the lead lap too, which is a good thing. The odds fell to 400. They do that every week. Shit in practice, shit in qualifying. He does that every week. It's fine. We've seen it a million times before. Gilliland is fine here. He's the safe play. Probably still going to go a lap down or two, which sucks. But Stenhouse is the worrisome one where I've alluded to it a lot this whole podcast. But starting 36th, very scary. That bro's probably going to get lapped. But if there's carnage, like he has upside, he's finished top 5 here way back in the day. It's just very likely to get lapped.
Yeah, pre-next gen, this was a great track for Stenhouse. Just hasn't been able to, and maybe that's a story of every track for Ricky, just not great in the next gen era. But mid last year had some kind of breakout speed. At the start of this year looked really good, but over the course of the year has just fallen and fallen and fallen. Obviously a fine PD play, but a guy that can really burn you here as well, and hasn't run super well as of late.
I disagree with Vegas fully here. They have Stenhouse clearly over Gilliland in this spot. I don't know. I think he's starting so far back. He's just going to get lapped early.
I mean, this is scary. I mean, obviously this is a rough section of it's been a weird schedule, but save for Atlanta, where he's like obviously a really good plate driver, none of these performances.
Atlanta and Texas, that's it. So a super speedway, and a track that shouldn't even exist.
Yeah,
and the only places he's had top 10s.
I mean, this Martinsville 20th is probably your only beacon of hope, but I suspect if we look into that,
he wasn't qualified a lot better. Let's see. Yeah. He started in 34th in that race. I think he got a lucky dog. That's really what it comes down to a lot of the time, is getting a lucky dog.
Yeah. So both of these are fine plays. I think I prefer Gilliland just based on his recent form. Stenhouse has just been so bad recently. But this is probably your last viable kind of option. Justin Haley doesn't even sound like he's going to have a job next year. Sounds like it's getting pretty bad over at Spire Motorsports in the 7 team. And he overqualified anyway. You talk about, chasing breakout performances, would need one here to hit value. We'll talk about Jesse Love last. Cole Custer, kind of same situation, overqualified, not super competitive here back when he had good equipment, and this new Haas factory team hasn't kind of hit their stride yet. Ty Dillon overqualified. I mean, I don't mind Ty Dillon as a sprinkle play because he's probably going to stay on the lead lap, and he does appear to have a little bit of pace. So if you want to go super cheap and play a little Ty Dillon, I don't hate it. But again, you're kind of chasing this kind of 15th, 16th place run that he had at Martinsville and Phoenix. Riley Herbst, some pace in practice, but it's a lot different when you're out there running alone. Again, you'd be chasing an outlier performance in Cody Ware, pure carnage play. But Jesse Love starting 35th. Obviously, the RCR gear has a little bit of juice. Jesse Love probably more comfortable at Richmond than a guy like Corey Heim. Jesse Love, a really solid short tracker. I think the concern here is just how green he is. This is like his third start in the Cup Series.
I think he's had like 5 starts at this point. He's been pretty bad. Talladega is whatever. Texas, he's 31st. Kansas, 29th. 24th. Indianapolis.
You can kind of throw. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what the Beard Motorsports equipment is like, but I guess your best viable option in terms of a low dollar play, 31st can't hurt you a lot, or 35th can't hurt you a ton. If he can carnage his way into a top 25, he'll score you 28. I don't know. It seems like a stretch to see a guy like that in the optimal versus a guy like Ty Dillon who can finish 16th and score you about the same.
I mean, Ty looks better and better the more you consider the fact that Jesse Love's just going to get lapped. Like, I don't see how he doesn't get lapped.
Yeah, and all the procedural stuff that goes on in a 400 lap race. He's going to make more pit stops in this race than he's ever made in his life. A lot of opportunities to make mistakes. Probably even be a green flag pit stop at one point in this race in the 3rd stage. Just a lot of things that can go wrong.
You could get a green flag pit stop, I think, on every stage long enough.
Yeah, in theory, I guess we could get one in stage 1, depending how it all plays out. But yeah, I think Jesse Love probably has a pretty tough path to the optimal here. Yeah, fine GPP player.
The more
for
I
sure.
look at the bottom, the more I just like Gilliland. I think he's been the one that's shown that he can stay on the lead lap more often. Zane Smith, maybe. It's really tough sledding down here, and with how bad the value is here, it makes Priest even that much more important, I think.
Yeah. And listen, the other thing with Ty Dillon too, like we say, if the first stage goes green and they lap up to like 22nd, Ty Dillon ends up staying on the lead lap, which 16th he should be able to do. He's got some pace. He kind of just get hard locked into a top kind of 22 as long as he stays out of trouble. So though, that 16th starting spot looks a little scary, there could be a pretty high floor depending on how that first stage goes.
You know that Ty Dillon averages 6 fast laps here in the next gen?
That's crazy.
Yeah, in 6 next gen races, he averages 6 fast laps.
Yeah, and
he kind of gets spread out a little bit here.
And in a faster car than he's ever had. So, yeah, I think Ty Dillon's certainly viable.
I almost want to look and see what Hemrick did last year here. Okay, nothing.
I mean, Hemrick didn't do anything anywhere.
Yeah. He was like last both races. But Ty Dillon's better.
Yeah, for sure. And has been running better and, seems in a better position. Anyway, that's the slate. I mean, it really comes down to, it's a really, really true lineup construction type of slate. Do you go full PD with one dominator? Do you go one dominator with a bunch of mid-range plays? There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. I think the two kind of turning points of this race will be the start, who gets the lead, Bowman Priest or Reddick, and gets those early dominator points. And then who kind of emerges as the favorite once the sun goes down, whether it's Denny Hamlin or Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, or Chase Elliott. It really comes down to those things. But I guess we'll go over to the odds board, refresh that, and
get us a winner pick, I guess. Yeah,
let's find us a winner here. I think it's safe to say Denny Hamlin is the rightful favorite, but if you're going and betting plus 225 on NASCAR, better off just watching UFC tonight. I'm sure you can find some more fun underdogs than that. What's jumping out? I'm tempted to say Blaney at plus 1,300 just because of his long run speed in practice and his long run pace in general this season, but the track history really scares me off.
Yeah, win would be such a huge jump for him. I don't know. I'm thinking it's so chalky of a race. You're probably not going to get a real outsider like maybe like a Josh Berry up there or a Hocevar. Like I don't think those guys are really super viable.
I think Josh Berry would be the one. Year. I mean, maybe Ty Gibbs. But I mean, William Byron at plus 1,600 jumps out just because there's not a track we go to where Byron can't win.
Mm-hmm.
So Byron plus 1,600 is somewhat interesting, but
as low as you're going to get him. I kind of like Bubba here. I think he's just in really, really good form. He's been kind of waiting to have a breakout performance at these short tracks.
And even Reddick at plus 1,600, like if we're considering him the pole sitter, which I think in a lot of cases you can put him up to plus 900 where Priest should be, Bubba Wallace or Tyler Reddick, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, sure, Priest gets the best pit stall, but Reddick's got a damn good pit stall, a damn good pit crew.
Yep, for sure. And the other one I would point out here, maybe plus 800 is not enough, and I'll go to my odds comparison tool here to see if we can find longer. But Chase Elliott shares a lot of the characteristics that I like about Ryan Blaney in this race, but also has a track history that's a little more palatable. So can we find, if I go to odds, Chase Elliott, plus 1,400 at open, but plus 800 everywhere right now. So I don't know, plus 800, not quite enough.
I found if you can even bet on it, Hard Rock usually has the loosest odds, and I've seen Caesar has like the earliest odds usually throughout the week. They're not that great.
Maybe a race where, to somebody's point earlier, let the sun go down, track lap times, and see if you can find something live. See which one of these guys is going to have the pace once the sun goes down. But nothing really jumping off the page other than Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick. If you want to get really, really silly, Ty Gibbs has some uncharacteristic long run pace, which is maybe a reason for optimism. But anything in the top 10 odds jumping out at you?
Let's see. I took some top 10s early on. Let me see, what were they? Like when it first opened over on like Bovada, I think. Let me see. I have. Oh yeah, I'd taken like Dylan top 10 at plus 500.
Yeah, that's nice.
I guarantee you can't get that.
Plus 135 now.
Yeah. So yeah, plus 500 was ridiculous.
Yeah, there's nothing really jumping out at me here. Yeah, really nothing at all for as far as top 10s. We'll hop over
to the race time.
We'll hop over to matchups. Chris Buescher versus Josh Berry. Actually surprised to see Josh Berry the favorite here, and seemingly a pretty heavy favorite. I would actually expect that to be closer to even, which probably makes Chris Buescher a fine play. But I don't know. I'm pretty bullish on Josh Berry, so maybe not. Denny Hamlin versus Kyle Larson. Obviously, Hamlin a huge favorite. I think that's fair. Josh Berry versus Austin Dillon. That's an interesting matchup. But again, Josh Berry, favorite.
Josh, he's popping up. I mean, I wish we weren't. Yeah, I wish these plus numbers weren't picking against him.
Kyle Busch versus Bubba Wallace is interesting just because, like we talked about, Kyle Busch obviously has some pace, but his finishing has been so poor, and Bubba Wallace's has been so good. If you're looking for just a reason to watch this race, maybe Bubba Wallace here. Not a bad
You
spot.
can see the rake bleeding through -120 versus -115.
Yeah, 35-cent lines are always fun. And then Bell versus Elliott. Yeah, there's huge juice here, but nothing jumping out. We'll go over to groups. So here's interesting. Brad Keselowski is the favorite to win Group 1 because he is ridiculously priced at plus 400. Bell and Elliott, I think, are both have higher upside than Brad Keselowski.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you go.
That might be the move here. Plus 225.
Bell, I think you could make a case for Christopher Bell being plus 450 here.
Yeah.
Bell was really good here last year. He's really good on long runs. Like I said, he's probably the most capable as far as the new gen of managers. Plus 225 just to beat these three guys. I mean, Ryan Preece, like we've talked about, probably isn't going to hang around in the top 3. Good chance the winner of this group comes out of the top 3. Christopher Bell plus 225. I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all. Honestly, I don't mind Chase Elliott here either, but I prefer Bell. Go to group 2. Larson, the favorite. I get why, but Blaney kind of makes some sense here.
I was looking at group 4, Josh Berry, but Austin Dillon's in that one. I don't know. That one's chaotic, but I don't like Bowman or Hocevar, so I kind of like picking against that.
And then group 3. I think the one's most interesting, maybe playing Christopher Bell here, group 1, winner plus 225, just to beat these three guys.
Mm-hmm.
That makes some sense. What do we got for race props?
I hear that JGR is good.
Yeah.
At Richmond.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really like to. These are always weird for me because, there's no correlation. Like, why are we betting who the top Chevrolet is going to be? It's not like, I just think there's better ways to bet this kind of thing.
I mean, it's the same as like winning driver number, like over under driver winner. It's just different ways to split it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning manufacturer, same thing. So I guess the takeaway here is maybe the play is Christopher Bell to win Group 1. I don't mind if this, if you can find this with kind of 10-cent lines somewhere or even 15-cent lines. Bubba Wallace over Kyle Busch makes some sense. And then if you're looking for a win bet, I think we both believe Denny Hamlin is probably the rightful winner, but if you want to take a long shot, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, if you want to get super long, I still believe in Ty Gibbs for some reason. So maybe at plus 6,500, that's kind of back to where he started as a rookie. You could get him at like plus 10,000 every race. So,
all right, the number on Chastain is crazy at this point, 70, but maybe like a top 5, top 10 deal there.
Yeah, what's his?
I don't know.
But plus 260 at top 10, top 5, plus 850. That even doesn't seem like enough if you're going to price him at plus 7,000 to win.
Yeah, he's just cash game chalk.
Let me see. Chastain, top 5 here last year, but other than that, top 3 here in 21. When
the practice times are fine. I don't know why his lines are that bad, but
yeah, and his form isn't that terrible right now, right? Like he's obviously terrible on Saturdays, on qualifying practice days, but his finishes. I mean, I almost don't mind throwing this entire segment of races out because this is such a weird section of tracks that we're coming out of, and we're going into some normalcy now. But pretty consistently in the top 10, top 15 when things were normal.
Yeah, maybe been like my go-to like pre-qualifying snake draft pick just because he reliably always qualifies super low and then just coast up to the top 15.
Yeah, and listen, I'm just noticing this now in real time, but a summer slump doesn't seem that uncommon for Ross Chastain in the next gen.
Trackhouse in general.
Pretty consistently, and then he starts to turn it around towards the end of the season. So maybe today is the start of that turnaround because, like you said, practice speed, track history, all that stuff that we look at as predictive not super scary.
Yep. We're pushing on 2 hours here.
Jeepers, I guess we are.
Yep.
We started this when the race was going to start in 4.5 hours. Is it all the way to 2 hours now? 2:43. All right, we better cut it off there. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, chilling.
Chilling. With all that in mind, if you want more, I don't know why you would. We just babbled for 2 hours. But if you do, for some reason, want more, all of these tools that we've talked about and used available at dfsarmy.com. That link is in the description. I don't know how much, $15 a month or something, and you get access to all this really important stuff. Like I said earlier, this is the most important part. This research station that Taco makes every single week for every single race is the most important collection of information you can have if you are betting on this stuff, if you're playing DFS or whatever. But you also get access to the domination station to help build your lineups. You also get access to our thoughts and opinions on every single driver in every single race after practice. So all the up-to-date information. Head on over to dfsarmy.com, dfsarmy.com/NASCAR, dfsarmy.com/pricing. Link is in the bio. Use code TACO and get signed up. We do every sport, not just NASCAR. I know Geek is well into football. There's a lot of football stuff going on, basketball, hockey, all of it. So if you're interested, head on over to dfsarmy.com/pricing. You get signed up, use code TACO. You also get access to the Discord, where you can tell us when all of this goes wrong and for some reason Daniel Suarez wins and dominates this race. You can come tell me and talk about how stupid we are. That's free. That's included in your subscription. But yeah, appreciate all you guys for joining. Gilliland to the rear. Didn't he already start in the rear?
He was like 31st, so
yeah, not a big deal. But yeah, if you want to talk,
but yeah,
if you want to talk more about this stuff, get signed up, get access to the Discord. We'll be in there all night talking racing. If not, enjoy the race, enjoy the fights tonight, big fights, and we will talk to you. Oh, I don't want to do Daytona next week.
Oh my God, I can't wait for Daytona.
Are the trucks at Milwaukee next week?
I just want to do the snake drafts, bro.
Oh yeah,
I'm just gonna load up on all the scrubs and make so much money. Just JJ Yaley core play.
2 Saturday night races in a row. Wow. But yeah, we'll do all it again next week at Daytona in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series Friday and Saturday. Jeremy says you are doing Daytona, Brady. All right, I'll be here, but I will do so begrudgingly. You can lead next week's podcast.
I love football season starting. That means we get these Saturday races.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, as Talk always said, helmets up top, and we will talk to you guys tonight in the Discord or next Friday for the Xfinity stream. Later.
See you.